Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the New York Mets postgame show. Your New York Mets have bounced back in a major way, and we are here to break it down. What's up? I appreciate it. Rob, thank you for joining me. How are you tonight? And shout out to the chat as well. How's everybody feeling? Let's go.
Hey, a hell of a lot better than last night. I tell you that much. They can never make it easy. We all know that. But man, it was a team effort today. I tell you that much. Like, there was a couple of bad at bats with runners on. Could have added some insurance runs. It should have been a no contest game. We did make it interesting, but we pulled out at least one win in LA, and that's exactly what we needed. And listen, recency bias. Everybody's going to love it right now. Now, what I worry about a little bit before we really get started is that this is a similar game too than what the Mets had against Philly, as they lost, but the Dodgers threatened. I know they didn't really come back and tie it, but it feels eerily similar. But man, good performance today by the Mets. Good. It was a solid performance. Not great, but solid.
It was a solid performance. And being a Mets fan, it is never easy for us whatsoever. They always have to make it interesting. But you know what? We kind of love it. This is postseason baseball. I'm not going to lie to you. But two things from me. First off, it's another Mets postseason W. So you know what we got to do. We here, baby. We here. Hey, listen, I think my Hawaiian shirt ended up working, right? The streak continues and the Hawaiian shirt on the pregame, Rob. What do you think about that?
The Hawaiian shirt, and I cleaned my socks last night.
Boom. There it is. There it is.
That filth off. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, salute to the chat. Everybody here. The comments are pouring in. We definitely appreciate the support. Please hit those thumbs up buttons on this channel. Not only my channel, but also Rob's channel. Subscribe to both channels if you haven't done so already. Pregame and post-game coverage for you all postseason long. We got you. And you know what we got to do, Rob. You know what we do. We spam those W's whenever the Mets win. Spam those W's in the chat, baby. Let's go. Big W, big W. Listen, coming into this game, the big thing, especially with that little clip that the broadcast played before the game actually started was, the Dodgers bullpen or the Dodgers pitching going 24 scoreless innings. Well, you know what? Francisco Lindor, to lead the game off, he says, screw your 24 scoreless. He said, we here in LA and we are ready to take a game and go back to New York in style. And you know what? How huge was that to follow up a 9-0 loss and have your MVP shortstop be like, you know what, guys, let me just do this myself, and breaks and snaps that scoreless streak. Absolutely amazing. The at-bats, first and foremost, before we get into Sean Manaea, because we usually start with pitching here and then we progress to the offense. But I got to say, through and through, maybe with the exception of a Jose Iglesias, I think the at-bats, in their approach, I think that it looked really good. But how about Sean Manaea? Yeah. With the cap to Sean Manaea. He was absolutely brilliant, Rob. Take me through what you saw from Sean Manaea. And again, right? He goes 5 innings and he gets into some trouble with, a couple walks to start that 6th inning. The Mets go the route of Phil Maton. I was kind of questioning it a little bit, but you know what? He kind of came through. Carlos Mendoza again with just the overall awareness of the game and playing his cards right. It feels good. But first and foremost, you see here, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, I believe, off of Sean Manaea, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's 2 runs scored off him that was credited to him, but only one of those was earned, if I'm not mistaken. 7 strikeouts, 4 walks. The walks need to calm down a little bit with the walks, but only 87 pitches. What'd you see from him?
Yeah, he was great for 5 innings, right? He was excellent. He had the batters off balance. They could not touch that high sinker at all. And he just had him off balance for 5 innings. Now, the 6th inning, I don't know if he got tired or what, but he kept on leaving them pitches up, and, he got into trouble with walks. And he pitched well. It was a game that you had a 6-0 lead, right? After the grand slam in the 2nd inning, he's put up 3 zeros in a row, 3 innings in a row, or 5 innings in a row, basically. And then in the 6th inning, got away from him. But he basically did his job. He wasn't great, but he was really damn good for 5 innings. And look, when you got a 6-0 lead, all you got to do is put up zeros. And he did that for 5 innings. And it got away from him in the 6th, but other guys stepped up, and that's what we needed there. But it was a solid performance from Minaya. He put the zeros up when we needed him. He got a couple of quick innings, after the Mets put up a 6 spot. So excellent job by Minaya. Wasn't great, but really damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he really set the tone. And shout out to everybody spamming those W's as we go on in the stream. I'm going to prop up some comments, especially if you're spamming those W's in the chat. We absolutely love it. And that's what we do here when the Mets take a postseason game in the year of 2024. I absolutely love it. But again, Sean Manaea set the tone. He made Shohei Ohtani look really bad today. Right? A couple of strikeouts, a pop-up. It seemed like Shohei Ohtani was not picking up that arm angle. And what did we tell you all in the pregame, right? And they even mentioned it on the broadcast. This is not the same Sean Manaea that the Dodgers have been facing, right, over the past couple of seasons while he was a San Diego Padre or a San Francisco Giant. This is not the same version of Sean Manaea. He is a different form of himself. He's unlocked a different version of himself. And this isn't even the Sean Manaea, the same Sean Manaea that the Dodgers faced earlier this season, right? It's not. And so we told you all that, but you know what? Dodgers fans didn't want to listen to us. They told us he wasn't even going to touch, the fifth inning. And I see some of the Dodgers fans in the chat here. Appreciate you all actually showing up and holding to your word from our pregame show. Much respect. But again, we told you all what to look out for Sean Manaea. Again, the two-seamer, the sinker right up in the zone, and then the sweeper. It sets up the sweeper. And it's just nasty action. They always talk about the glove side arm movement, and it is something that he is absolutely going out there and just dominating. As a left-handed bat, I don't even know how I would approach those at-bats against Sean Manaea with how he falls off of that mound and what angle those pitches are taking to get to the plate. So, you know what? An absolutely brilliant performance. Obviously, he kind of slowed down there in the 6th inning. I think Carlos Mendoza, again, trust in your manager. He played it perfect. We've seen him at times this season try to push the envelope with Sean Manaea and some of these other pitchers, but today was not one of those days. Again, only 87 pitches. And we saw the same situation against Philly, where in the 6th inning or so, not bases loaded, but runners on first and second, nobody out, Mendoza gives him the ball against Philly. It works out. And then he decides not to do it today with a different lineup, a much deeper lineup. And he puts in Maton. Maton gets the job done. So again, the Mets had me sweating there for a second with the Iglesias error. And I know they called it a single for Tommy Edman. And I know that Freddie Freeman was kind of shielding the eyes of Pete Alonso on that ball that went just under his glove. But those plays have to be made. That's a situation where, if that happens again, you might lose that ball game because they didn't take advantage of it fully today because I believe it was still Maton on the mound induced that double play from Kike Hernandez. But again, you cannot have that happen. My heart almost sank when I saw that ball go under Pete Alonso's glove. And then with the double play, Mark Vientos shuffling with the ball, he was able to recuperate. My heart sank, man. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. When you see Iglesias, sure-handed Iglesias make that, I know it wasn't an error, but it's an error. Let's be honest about that. He makes that in his sleep. When he made that error, I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, this is turning in their favor 100%. At that point, I'm thinking, this game is not as comfortable as I was feeling as soon as that error, even with the bases loaded. Like I felt, or was it first or second? I think it was bases loaded at that point, right? If I'm not mistaken, I base loaded 1 out. Or no outs?
It was bases loaded, 1 out. Double play? Is the double play you're talking about? 1 out. Yeah,
it was 1 out. Yeah. So, I was like, oh, man, that's not good. But you know what? Still, Phil Maton, he didn't pay. He had a couple of ground balls that should have been caught. And Pete Alonso also the Pete Alonso ball was a little bit easier than the Iglesias ball because it bounced off the mound and took a funny hop. Iglesias tried to get in front of it, but he tried to, short hop it to try to get the double play and try to, speed up a little bit. But again, you can't make those mistakes. You got lucky today with those mistakes. They didn't burn you completely. You know, they added a couple of runs in that inning, but you can't keep on making those mistakes. Look, there's still walks that are a problem in this game, and there's still fielding errors that you just can't have. They will capitalize on it if you keep on making those mistakes. You got away with it today, but you can't do that again because you saw how dangerous it got in the 8th and 9th inning. It was dangerous there. But luckily, you know, we pulled it out, and good job by the bullpen.
And that's something where the offense cannot go silent even after putting up 6 runs. There is no amount of runs that are ever enough against a lineup that the Los Angeles Dodgers possess. There is no lead is safe whatsoever. So that was kind of a little bit disheartening for me to see them put up 6 in the first 2 innings. And can we talk about, first of all, we have a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of things, both good and bad, that I saw with the Mets today. Obviously, the lackadaisical at-bats after that Vientos home run was one of them. And I like the late run production again off of another bullpen arm, with Pete Alonso gets a walking lead at first base and swipes the bag. And then Starling Marte, who had just an absolutely tremendous day. He was 3 for 4 with that RBI. It was an important insurance run, especially when you see how hairy it got with Edwin Diaz there in that 9th inning, but he pulls through. One thing that I will say is that, again, Dave Roberts, he was almost playing to lose that game. Like, he saw the Mets get up 6-0, and then he basically was mitting. And trust me, they got the job done. What was it, Honeywell or Honey?
Yeah,
I think it was Honeywell. He did a tremendous job, and they kind of pushed the envelope with him, right? Because he just kept on posting zeros. But those weren't their high leverage relievers. No. They really were. And that's what the most frustrating thing about that is for me as a Mets fan, is like, Dave Roberts is literally trying to hand you this game, right? And I know that we still won, but again, you know, with their lower leverage relievers, you have to put more runs up on the board. You cannot just be satisfied with 6 runs. And there were certain situations, right? Jose Iglesias, again, his approach has to be better. I'm not really sure what he's been doing as of recent at the plate, but it hasn't been good. I know that he got a single today. I get it. He had a single yesterday, but there was a certain situation early in the game, first and second, nobody out, and he pops out. And he also, right, we talk about the approaches and not guessing. There was a couple of times, and Iglesias wasn't the only one, swinging at off speed on a 2-0 count, right? You cannot do that. That is unacceptable. It's a bad look. So, and then the other thing is Francisco Alvarez. He just needs to snap out of it, because he basically by himself stranded an entire army on the bases today. And again, the swing looks long. He looks like he's pulling off the baseball, and he looks like he's trying to go up there and just hit a home run every single time. I need him. It's not often I say this, but I just need him to shorten up his approach. And I think better things will start happening for Francisco Alvarez. Again, we're not going to complain too much. It's a W, but what kind of, you know, Mets fans would we be up here if we didn't give it to you straight? And the fact that there's still some stuff that the Mets need to clean up, because they're playing a very dangerous team. And if they clean those little mistakes up, you know, you lengthen your margin for error against the Dodgers.
Yeah. Again, I talk about it every game. You know, the first 2 games, you got to limit your mistakes. You make mistakes against this team, you're going to pay. And they didn't pay, you know, 100% in this game, but, you know, you're not going to get lucky many times against this offense of the Dodgers. And Alvarez left 7 men on base today. And look, I'm not going to say they got comfortable with that 6-run lead, but it seemed like with their at-bats. They got a little too relaxed at the plate after that 6-run lead. But Alvarez, you know, me and Madara have a conversation. If Alvarez is not hitting, why is he in the lineup? Why not just put Terrence as the catcher? You know, you're going to get great catching from him. I know Alvarez has been good behind the plate. He's been blocking pitches. He's been throwing out runners, but he's in the game, in the lineup for his bat. And with him constantly popping up with less than 2 outs, popping up, all you got to do is get the ball to the outfield, move the runners over at the very least with less than 2 outs. He's not even doing that. Everything is an uppercut, trying to hit a ball 500, 600 feet. Like, it's going to be a conversation, because I like what he's been doing behind the plate. He's been a hell of a lot better than what he did in the season, blocking balls, throwing guys out. But again, if you don't have his bat, what's the point of having him in the lineup? He's basically a zero in the lineup. Like I would give a chance to Torrens in game 3. Just you might hit lightning in a bottle here. You know, the same way that Jeff McNeil hasn't started, which I think he's going to start game 3, by the way. I think Iglesias, look, Iglesias has been great for us, but something's up with Iglesias. He doesn't swing at those pitches like that. He's been really off. Even though we got a base hit, I wouldn't be shocked if you see a couple of changes. That's not a panic move because you won today. But I think
who do you think is going to start? I missed that. Who do you think is going to start?
I think Jeff McNeil is going to start game 3.
Okay.
Over Iglesias.
I can see a world where that's the case.
Because of the at-bats, and it just looks like Iglesias is a step behind at the plate and on the field. I mean, that's just me. He just looks a little slow with the bat. And, you know, again, he's been like that in the Philly series as well. He had a couple of big hits in Philly, but the later in the series, you know, in game 3 and 4, he wasn't great. Like he looked a little off. So, you know, I don't want to look. It's hard to kill Jose Iglesias. He's been outstanding for us. Hell of a lot more than we ever thought we were going to get from anybody at second base. But I think you got to give him a day off. Put him on the bench. He can always pinch it in the game in game 3. You know, I mean, I don't want to do that, but I think you have to put McNeil there. And I want Torrens behind the plate. I think you can't be messing around with those at bats. I mean, they totaled 9 guys left on base. That's a problem. That's a huge problem.
I hear you, and I can see a scenario where that could play out. But I also think that Mendoza is not going to change up what has been quote unquote working. And I understand like the ins and outs of today in terms of the at bats that Iglesias and Alvarez have been taking. This actually goes way back to his previous stream that we did about 2 months ago, and the fact that people were calling for Torrens to start even 2 months ago. And if anyone that was a part of this channel, both of our channels, was around for that stream, I said, slow your roll. Even though Alvarez is not producing, I don't see a world where they're going to prioritize Luis Torrens. This is the playoffs at the end of the day, and I get it. You can make in-series adjustments. I just wouldn't count on it. The one thing that I would be okay with, and Jesse Winker has been fantastic. This guy has been absolutely fantastic, and he's taking professional at-bats 100%. Would you see a scenario where they play Iglesias at third base and then move Mark Vientos to the DH spot at all to get McNeil at second base, or not really?
I think Iglesias is missing a step. I wouldn't even play him on the field tomorrow in game 3. I'll tell you, he needs a day off. Like, honestly, I know the 3 days he had 3 days off because the NLDS to the NLCS, but he just looks a little slow, like in general, like first step, bats. It just looked like he's behind everything. He's swinging at really bad pitches, and that wasn't him the whole season. Something's up. Like they really, and look, another scenario is that we don't know what's up with, we know what's wrong with Nimmo. So that could be McNeil might play left field.
I was going to just say that. That man is worrying me out there. And listen, Brandon Nimmo, credit to him, like a warrior for being out there. Yeah. But the way he was chasing after those balls, especially on that catch, that was absolutely roped in the later part of the game. I mean, listen, I know that you want him to play. We all want him to play. He wants to play. But that man looks like he can barely run out there. And I saw it early in the game when he took a walk and he was just hobbling down to first base. He did not have that electric step on his usual Nimmo runs on walks. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Maybe he feels better after the off day, but I think it's too short of a turnaround. And at this point, right, I don't ever advocate for Jeff McNeil to play the outfield because I think he's a below average outfielder. I know he can, but he just doesn't look good out there. At this point, it might be better just to see Jeff McNeil out there. And forget about Harrison Bader. I mean, Harrison Bader's not going to bring anything to the table in terms of the bat. They need offensive production. So I can see a world where the infield remains the same, and then you just put Jeff McNeil out there in the outfield. Now, I don't know if they're going to try to DH Nimmo at that point just to keep the lefty bat, and then that would just remove Winker. I don't know, but it's not like Brandon Nimmo has looked stellar with his bat either. So it might just be an off day to see how he responds and maybe try to give it a go for game 4. I don't know, but that's one situation that kind of sucks for me to see because he just does not look 100%. He doesn't even look probably even 70% out there.
Yeah. It's a problem. Like I was surprised they didn't take him out in that inning when after he made that catch, because even that foul ball, I think it was Teoscar Hernandez, or I forgot, was it Kiki? I think it was Kiki Hernandez who hit that fly ball.
I think it's Kiki Hernandez. Yeah,
that hit the fly ball down the line and it was foul. I mean, he barely got over to the foul line. Like, and I was like, oh no. Like, if I'm a Dodger, I'm hitting that ball left field, you know. But yeah, you might have to sit Nimmo. They might DH him because Nimmo, even though he hasn't been great this postseason average wise, but he's hit big home runs for us in his postseason. So you might still want that back because he can knock one over the wall. Maybe the adrenaline helps him a little bit going to Citi Field. But the Mets got a couple of questions to really figure out because, Iglesias is, again, that wasn't an easy ball to make on the ground after it hit the mound, but he's so sure-handed. When he makes a mistake, he's like, whoa. But there's a couple of decisions you're gonna have to make in Game 3. And any decision Mendoza make, I don't think it's gonna be a panic move. I just think you have to make a smart move here. You just have to make a gut decision at this point, right? You do have Jeff McNeil for a reason. He could be beneficial in left field. He's not a great left fielder, but I'd rather him play left field at Citi Field that he knows than Dodger Stadium. So that's a good thing. Going back home in Game 3, I think Jeff McNeil's gonna start. It's either going to be left field or second base. But I still would see, you're not going to be able to do that now because I don't want Bader in the lineup because of his bat, especially if Alvarez is going to play. You're going to have two bats that are just lost. But you're probably going to have to see McNeil in left field and then run with Iglesias. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, it's hard to just, say, oh yeah, Iglesias, get him out of the lineup. Nah, because he can get that big hit. He's still that veteran guy who's been outstanding for us. But it's going to be, a couple of interesting decisions from Mendoza for Game 3. It's not as easy as throw up the lineup and let's go for Game 3 at home.
Yeah, there's going to be some thought process. And Oliver saying not one person has mentioned Marte's 3 hits today. I did mention it, so maybe you came in a little bit late, but you cannot you cannot just gloss over the fact that Marte looked like a beast out there at the plate. Like that was like the at-bats that the Mets desperately needed. And again, it all starts off with your MVP shortstop, Francisco Lindor, setting the tone. And I don't know, again, I saw a lot of discourse about what the lineup should have been after last night's debacle. Again, please don't come on here with bench Tyrone Taylor. Don't do it. No. Tyrone Taylor, huge hit in the first inning, RBI. He also put together some solid at-bats. And again, I trust in his bat and I trust him to play a competent outfield. And again, he played his position really well today. The sun out there, especially in a matinee game, is really, really tough. I know there's no excuses for him in terms of some of the plays that happened last night. But again, I'm not reactionary. I'm not really the reactionary type in terms of switching up the lineup because a guy has a bad game. I understand that it's becoming a pattern now, Francisco Alvarez and also Jose Iglesias. And I would be open to seeing that switch up and that adjustment by Mendoza. But do I expect for it to happen? I think McNeil starting is plausible 100%, but I don't see Alvarez and Iglesias sitting in Game 3. I don't see it.
Well, you know what? That would be I would think Game 3 home game is where you would not be shocked if there's a couple of changes in the lineup, just because you got that home cooking. You want to you're up you're tied 1-1. You're not really panicking at this point. So I mean, I would not be. I think McNeil's going to play. I think he's going to play left field. I don't even know if Nimmo's going to play. Like I would just sit Nimmo. I would maybe a big at bat late in the game. You might want to throw him in there and maybe get a swing out of him. But I don't think you can mess around with Nimmo. I don't think you can hurt him anymore. Even as a DH, he hits the ball in the gap. You know what Nimmo's going to do? He's a hustler. He's going to run. And you don't want him to hurt himself. And then you have him out for a couple of games because he was trying to beat out a double there. I would just not play Nimmo, give him another day's rest, see how he's doing. Maybe he'll pinch it late in the game. I think you're going to see a little bit of change. I think McNeil's going to play. And I do think that it's either going to be Alvarez or Iglesias not starting. And it's either going to be Terenza or Acuna are going to be the one of those guys are going to be in the game.
But even if Terenza starts, let's not act like he's been knocking the shit out of the baseball like he was at the beginning of the season.
But that's the problem, though. Alvarez is not hitting at all. Like, he can't be worse than Alvarez. That's the problem. And he's going to be just as good defensively, if not better, than Alvarez. So it's not much of a difference at this point. You might hit lightning in a bottle, you know? Maybe you get a couple of hits.
Listen, I called it when people wanted to bench Alvarez. I told you all that he's going to have a moment in this postseason, right? That he's going to come through in a major way. We're still waiting for it, obviously, but I really think that the upside with Francisco Alvarez and his bat, right? I think that would entice me to keep him in the lineup. But again, I digress. I understand both sides of the coin. I think it is going to be a really hard decision for Carlos Mendoza. We'll see. We'll see the route that he chooses. I do see a super chat here by Jonathan. Hey guys, this is now a five game series. You both are thumbs up. I appreciate you, Jonathan. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support and the super chat as well. Thank you for tuning in again. We're just about 26 minutes into this post-game stream. If you've been here, if you enjoy the post-game content, guess what? There's more of that coming. Hit the thumbs up on both of our streams. Subscribe to both channels. We'll do off-day discussions. Probably not for me tomorrow because I am going to be traveling out of town tomorrow, but I will try my very best to make pre-games and post-games this week while I am out. It won't be my same setup. It's going to be a struggle. I might have to do it from my phone, but I can't miss postseason baseball. I'm going to try my best. I promise you all that. But again, great time to be a Mets fan.
Yep.
Into the live chat poll. Please hit the live chat poll. How are we feeling, ladies and gentlemen?
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Those W's. I'm going to be putting up on the screen everybody that spams those W's in the chat. Let's do it. Spam those W's. Let's go. One interesting thing that I wanted to note as the W's pour in from Oliver, Jonathan, James, Hayden.
Heading back to Queens, baby.
Everybody. Paula. Everybody. Carlos, look at this. I love the W's. Jeremy, Lulu, Jeremy, D. I love it. Keep it coming, guys. Sanders. One thing that I wanted to sort of, ask you about in a situation that was kind of, it wasn't really anything meaningful, but again, you talk about needing to go and start off your innings in a correct manner and not let the leadoff guy get on, especially in a Dodgers lineup that, again, a bloop and a blast or a walk and a blast, and that's something that they kind of pride themselves on at sometimes. Phil Maton in that at-bat to Shohei Ohtani. First of all, I was very surprised that he got that inning to start off with. I thought it was 100% going to be Stanek. Do you like the approach to Shohei Ohtani there? It just looked like it was an unintentional walk. And there was no pitches that were even remotely in the strike zone. Like, that was a horrible at bat. And I just am questioning why that even happened in the first place. I wanted to know what the motive was.
Yeah. Wasn't that, because there was already a runner on first, right? In that with Ohtani.
No, it was the leadoff. I think it was the leadoff.
Yeah. So, like, you know what? Again, when you still had a 3-run lead at that point, so it was like, what are you doing? Like, he hits a home run at 6-4. It's not the end of the world. And that's the only time I would love to go. The beginning of the game and with nobody on base is the time when you go after Ohtani, right? It was just non-competitive pitches. Like, I don't know if that was the plan. And Mendoza talked again. We don't know what they said to Maton, right? They could have said, "Listen, don't give him a cookie, right? Just go around them. This is going to be a last batter. If he fishes for it, great." But I think their goal was to get Ohtani on base and bring in Stanek. So, I didn't like that approach. When you got a multi-run lead and there's nobody on base, you go after that guy, because if he hits a home run, it gets the game closer. But it doesn't tie up the ball game or make it a 1-run ball game. It would have been a 2-run ball game. And who knows how that would have turned out. But still, you have to challenge these guys. These walks have killed us in this game. We people are saying, why are we acting, talking negative after a win? Because we bring up the negatives and the positives because you have to. Because if the Dodgers came back and won this game, what do you think we're going to be talking about? The grand slam by Vientos? No. We'd be talking about all the runners left on base, and the bad walk that the pitchers were giving up. That was the game, right? The Mets got lucky in this game later in the ball game with the lack of insurance runs, the problem with the walks, because again, a walk is like a bloop in the blast. And walking two guys, it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Right? But look, Phil Maton did his job. If the guys caught the ball in the infield, he would have gave up probably one run, because that double play, it could have been maybe in and under, but at the very least, it would have been 2 outs, and it would have got one run in, and it would only have been 6-2 in that inning. And then if Pete Alonso makes the catch, and who knows, right? But even in that inning, the double play ball, right? Vientos bobbled it. Iglesias stepped on second and made a nice throw. It was a little offline, and Pete Alonso barely kept his toes on the base.
Great job by Pete.
When they challenged it, I'm like, and then it's like, oh, they challenged in second as well. I'm like, don't tell me he missed second base. But I could see why they did it, because he had complete white cleats on, and it was hard to tell. I think they thought he was on the backside of the base, and probably it was but listen, that was a good challenge, right? It was the moment in the game that could have, flipped the script a little bit. When you have 2 challenges in the postseason, why not have the umpires screw it up in the replay booth, right? And that's what I think they were hoping for, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and it seemed like a desperate challenge, but we have to remember also that teams get 2 challenges now, not just one. Yeah. So again, there's no harm, no foul if you're Dave Roberts in terms of challenging that. Not often that we agree, not that we're Dodgers fans, it doesn't really matter, but not often we kind of credit Dave Roberts in terms of his actual managerial decision making, but that was a pretty decent move. Dude, on that throw to first base with Jose Iglesias on the double play, I got flashbacks, man. I got flashbacks. That was not a great job. He got the job done, but that was a clean slide. That's a baseball slide, right? He's trying to break up the double play. Jose Iglesias put himself in a pretty bad position, probably induced by that Mark Vientos bobble. And again, we talk about what happened to like Ruben Tejada way back. Dude, I got flashbacks. Yeah, I got flashbacks. Listen,
if there was no rule, Muncy would have destroyed him at second base.
I got I'm glad Jose Iglesias is okay, man. I'm really glad. That's the last thing that we would have needed. Shout out to Jonathan as well, a super chat. The goal had to be get one in LA. Looking forward to Yamamoto and the crowd response that is going to commence, knowing that Yamamoto wasted Stearns and Cohen's time. Absolutely, 100%. We'll talk about that matchup here in just a second. But we appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It means a lot. Thank you for everybody's support. Whether you're putting in super chats or not, we appreciate you being here, taking the time out of your night to talk Mets baseball with us. It definitely means a lot. So I agree, though. That start, and we'll talk about it here in just a second. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with this game? I think pretty much what you see is what you get in terms of this game. There was a lot of run production early. Again, you're right. We're not trying to be negative. We're not trying to bring, the whole mood down. We are excited as anybody else about this win. Absolutely. But again, there's stuff that you need to clean up, because doing that 2 times around, we may be talking about a different result the next time around. So you got to keep on pouring on the runs. You just have to do it.
So the last thing I want to bring up, and we really didn't talk about it, Edwin Diaz. He was a little off the plate, but he was just missing. Like that walk and a couple of pitches that should have been a strike that weren't. He was on today. His slider was sharp. His fastball was nasty. That was the best Edwin Diaz we've seen probably since the 9th inning of the Braves game in the doubleheader. Like that was the best I've seen. He wasn't wild. He was around the plate, a little off, but he was mostly around the plate, especially with that slider. He was pretty damn good today. And you know what? That should be a confidence booster for Diaz there, considering that he had basically 4 days off. So that's a good sign with Diaz. He pitched the best out of everybody, to be quite honest. But you know what? For the most part, the bullpen did their job. A couple of plays defensively, we would have looked at it probably at a whole home game, and we weren't be talking about a couple of these negatives. But you're right, Chris. We're talking about these negatives because the Mets will talk about those negatives, right? Mendoza will talk about cleaning up the mistakes, right? You can't walk guys when you have 3, 4, 5 run leads. You can't do it. right? You just give them opportunities, let them earn their way on. And those mistakes, look, I'm not saying that every easy play should be made, but you should make them, right? The Iglesias one, again, I'm not going to give him all the blame because it did hit the mound, took a weird hop, but that's a play that you have to get your body in front of it and at least get one out. And you got none on that play. And what was it? A batter later, Pete Alonso, a ball that's right there, it goes under your glove. That's a ball you got to make, right? I gave him credit for that, keeping his foot on the bag in that double play, but that's a play you got to make. And he didn't make it. Look, if it was a little bit left of him, all right, he stretched out, he dove, made a play, but he didn't have to dive in that play.
No, he didn't.
The ball went under his, like on the bottom part of his glove underneath. That's a play where you got to stay up, backhand it, and make the throw to first to the pitcher. That's what you got to do in that spot. And he didn't do it. And again, he has those moments, but
I'll go to second with it.
I don't want him throwing to second base.
I was going to say.
No, I'd rather him take a chance flipping it to first. But yeah, little mistakes like that, it could have cost us today, and we would have had a real bad stream and talking about these mistakes that cost us. But they didn't cost us completely, but you got to clean it up. You got them. I'm not going to talk about momentum. All right. Momentum should have been all Dodgers today, right? 9-0 yesterday. But you got to play a crisper game. You're going to have the energy of the fans. You're coming back home. You got Sevy on the mound, who already flew back to New York. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but he flew back. I think he was with the team before the game started, and he was out. And he flew back to New York. Good job by the Mets doing that. I always like when they do that. Get them there. Let them relax. You get the extra day off. With today as well, getting back to New York, relax a little bit and get ready for game 3. And we did our job. Regardless of how we won, we won. And we did our job. The goal was to get 1 in LA. And now you got home field advantage for 3, 4, and 5. And listen, guys, this bullpen game for the Dodgers, right? Yes, they got away with it because they won game 1, so they can kind of lose this game. But this is huge for them. I didn't think they were going to go bullpen game 2. I didn't think they were, even win or lose.
I didn't think so.
It made it easier that they won yesterday. But this is going to be a problem because there's no more days off after tomorrow. 3, 4, and 5, it's straight. That's a ton of bullpen that the Dodgers are going to have to use after the bullpen game today. Even though they didn't use a ton of high leverage guys, they used a lot of their bullpen. So you got to make sure that you get Buehler, you get Yamamoto in these next 2 games out as soon as possible and get to that bullpen. Because as I said, the Mets have proven they can beat bullpen arms, good bullpen arms. And they did their job today right away in the first 2 innings. And I'm not even going to call them the New York Mets anymore. They are the bullpen killers of New York. That's what they are. That is what that's I'm going to make that shirt.
Bullpen killers of New York. I like that. Listen, I think also, I know I mentioned it at the top of the stream, but we just have to also just continue to give immense credit to Mark Vientos, man. I mean, I think the Dodgers did the right thing in that scenario, walking Lindor with 2 outs.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I really thought that was a great decision. Obviously, it backfired for Dave Roberts, but I think that you'd rather see Vientos, as crazy as that sounds, because he's been absolutely killing it in the postseason, right? But I forgot who tweeted it out, but it was a clip of Mark Vientos in the on-deck circle when the walk was happening and when he figured it out. You look at his eyes, like he was wearing shades, obviously, but like he was like, oh, okay. Let me just take that personally real quick and then go deep. I believe it was a 3-2 count, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what it was. But
fouled off a couple of pitches too. It was a 9-pitch at bat.
9-pitch at bat, opposite field. We love opposite field hitting, and Mark Vientos just does it again. You got to give credit where credit's due. And I love this team, man. Again, Severino, while walking to the plane, the report was that he was still wearing the eye black, right? Number 59. It seems like the pitchers are doing that to support the guys that are on the mound on that given day. That's awesome to see. And Drew Smith apparently was the honorary OMG sign holder today and we saw that with the Francisco Lindor home run. So that was good to see as well. Again, Mets win. How can you not love it? Let's go, baby. All right, it's time to talk game 3, though, because we do have this series going back to Queens, tied 1-1, and we do want to make sure that you guys are always subscribing and hitting those thumbs up for more Mets coverage, but that's besides the point. Game 3, and I messed up this graphic here because it says LAD leads the series 1-0. Listen, I try to make things a quick turnaround. I apologize. Mets versus Dodgers game 3. Probable pitchers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Luis Severino. As Jonathan was saying with his super chat, right? Crazy game, like a storyline type of game here, set up for Yoshinobu Yamamoto to come to Queens after he kind of stiffed the New York Mets and wasted their time, right? More or less. We know the whole saga. We were, doing content for the offseason. We were really excited and at one point pretty adamant that Yamamoto was going to be a New York Met, and obviously he declined the offer and went to Los Angeles to play with Ohtani instead. Okay, the Mets have a chance to do something really special here in terms of beating him up a little bit, getting him out of the game early.
Yep.
What are you looking for in this game as I quickly change this graphic?
So did they confirm Yamamoto? Because I was hearing things that they might not pitch him in game 3.
I don't know. Yeah, I was going under the assumption that Yamamoto, based off the report that I heard a couple of days ago, that's going to be going for game 3. He was on regular rest tonight, so I'm surprised they didn't even pitch him tonight. But I would be shocked if it wasn't Yamamoto, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me neither. I was hearing little rumblings that it might not be him. It might be Bueller for whatever reason. But if not, even if it is Yamamoto, again, boo him in the opening introductions, right? This is the guy that's not going to go past 5 innings. They've already proven that. He was outstanding against the Padres, and Roberts still took him out in the 5th inning, which could have backfired. It didn't, but it didn't backfire. He's not going more than 5 innings. So here's the goal. Already in game 3, they're going to use a lot of bullpen arms. So what do? You want to get to him early. You want Roberts to take out Yamamoto at least no later than the 3rd inning. Get him out, because they're not going to let that pitch count get up there. Remember, he's coming back from injury. I was about a month and a half ago around that. He's been out a while. They're not testing him. They're not keeping him out there. They're not stretching him out. At the very least, he's gone in the 5th inning. So that's 4 innings that they'll probably have to get out of their bullpen. So work the counts. He throws a very straight fastball. Lay off that breaking crap that he doesn't throw for strikes, and sit on those fastballs because they're straight as an arrow. If you're looking for something else, the fastball can get by you. But with Yamamoto, not going to be late, not going to go deep into a ball game. His fastball straight as an arrow. A lot of his breaking pitches are nasty, but he doesn't throw them for strikes very often, right? He'll throw you a get me over curveball, but he doesn't like to throw his breaking pitches for strikes.
The splitter is deadly with him, though, and he doesn't probably throw it in the strike zone because we know splitters die at the last second and probably are like in the dirt. But his splitter, not many hitters have had success against that splitter this year.
Yeah, but you know what they got to do? Look, I don't know how they're going to do it, but their next meeting about Yamamoto in game 3, if it is him, lay off that splitter, because he doesn't throw that for strikes. Like, he'll try to get that. Hopefully the umpire doesn't give him the low strike, because then that split is impossible to even deal with. But you got to lay off of it. You got to let him get that fastball in the zone, because that's the only pitch he really throws for a fastball. Throws for a strike. And it's a very, very straight fastball. So he can be hit. He can be dominant like he was against the Padres. But if you look at that game, they were swinging at everything out of the strike zone. The Mets got to be disciplined against him. Let him work his pitch count. Obviously, jump on the fastball if you get it early. But work the pitch count. Get him out of the game before the 5th inning, and let the Dodgers use a hell of a lot more bullpen than they want to use in game 3, because there's no days off for the 3 games at home. And that's what the Mets got to do against Yamamoto.
Yeah, I agree. I'm saving this post here because I kind of want to upload it as like an overlay, because the Mets account is making me laugh so hard right now with their memes. I love it. I'm just looking at, obviously we're trying to get the update here, if they've made it official with Bueller over Yamamoto in game 3. I haven't seen it just yet. Maybe I got to keep scrolling, but in any case, Be ready for anybody. I think they both have electric fastballs, right? Yamamoto's usually like 98. I think Walker Buehler gets up there as well. But again, the adjustment and the at bats, it has to be look for the fastball and adjust to the off-speed pitch. I don't know how many times we're gonna have to say that, but when the Mets are doing that, they look a whole lot better because it's very easy to get yourself going, loaded position, and hold yourself up on a ball that's breaking out of the zone, then vice versa, you thinking off speed and getting blown away with the fastball. And like you said, it's a straight fastball, right? Hitters can hit 98. They can hit 99 if it's straight. But that's the one thing that the Mets pitchers did really well today. And Shamanai did it. You said it with Edwin Diaz. They made competitive pitches. Yep. Yesterday, no competitive pitches, especially from Kodai Senga. He didn't even get, he wasn't even making the Dodgers lineup like he wasn't even making them try to swing, right? He made their jobs easy in terms of laying off that pitch. The adjustment was they were around the corners today, and especially Shohei Ohtani, Shamanai did a great job living on that outside corner, and that's what you have to do. It's hard to do consistently, but that's what you got to do. And also Phil Maton, I was laughing here. The reporter asked, how did it feel being in the game, late game situation with runners on base? And he just said, stressful. And his facial expression did resemble that. He looked stressed out there. I'm not going to lie to you. But
look, yeah, he was definitely mad about the couple of infield plays. Like he should have been out of that inning. He was upset about that. He didn't show it like, showing up his teammates, but he was annoyed. He was definitely annoyed. It made it more stressful than it should have been.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Dude, Citi Field's going to be rocking, man. I mean, I'm just like trying to like picture it right now. And obviously, like, have you been to a playoff game at Citi Field? Did you go?
Yeah, I went to the 2022 wild card.
Okay.
In 2015, I went to 2 games. So yeah.
So it's going to be, what that environment's like. I have never been to a Mets playoff game, and that's on my bucket list. I really want to go at Citi Field, but like, dude, I'm
trying to get to game 5. I'm trying to get there. I might fly there like one day, like go to the game and fly right back.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I want to do that so bad. I don't think I have the bandwidth this year, and I know I should be taking advantage of it, but man, it's definitely on my bucket list. So again, use that to your advantage though, right? Rattle Yamamoto or Buehler, whoever's going to be out there for the Dodgers in game 3. I'm still trying to find that post. So if you can just kill some time for me here to find it.
I wanted to bring up, you just talked about Citi Field going to be rocking. And, I know it was a tough Monday. It was a 1:00 game in the West Coast, but there was a lot of empty seats at Dodger Stadium for an NLCS game. I don't like to bring that up because look, the traffic sucks in LA regardless of what time you drive around there. And it is a Monday. It was Columbus Day or whatever you want to call it nowadays. But it is a federal holiday, so there was a lot of people off. And I know there's some people that are not. If I didn't have a regular Monday off, I'd be working. But there was a lot of empty seats, and now that's very weird. I could see an NLDS wild card round. People are like, I don't want to spend $150 and stay in traffic for an hour and a half for a wild card NLDS game or anything like that. But for an NLCS game and you won game 1 and that place wasn't packed, like when Vientos hit that home run, you heard the Met fans, there was a ton. And I know about 7 or 8 people that live in the California area that was at that game. There was a ton of Met fans there. And, honestly, that was a bad job by the Dodger fans. Like, I'm not telling how people, tell people, oh, leave work early. I don't know anybody's situation or anything like that. But that was a very, very odd situation for game 2. After you destroyed the Mets in game 1 and you had a Dodgers fan base that was, I'm surprised it was packed yesterday, considering it was a Sunday night game. But it was. Yeah. I don't know. It was very odd. But again, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. But it was very interesting. And
I think that stadium holds a little bit more seating, right, than most stadiums.
6,000. They do have standing room in like certain left field and right field. They got that little panel that goes out. It's like you can hold your beers and stuff like that over there. So there's probably standing rooms. There's probably a good 7,000 that they could probably hold, maybe even more.
Yeah, 100%. It's a valid point, really. It makes you wonder. Appreciate Jonathan with all the support here. Sent another super chat as well, talking about Jesse Winker. And I think it's also important to talk about Jesse Winker because, again, he just, ever since he came into this organization, right, he got the crucial RBI. No, that was Starling Marte. I apologize. He did have a base hit late in the game. But again, right, he's showing up and he's putting together competent at-bats, right? I look at that NLDS game against Zach Wheeler, where Zach Wheeler was mowing everybody down, right? He was throwing that high fastball out of the zone, getting the Mets hitters to chase. And Jesse Winker was the one that set the tone in terms of, I'm going to look at that. I'm not going to swing because I have enough plate discipline not to swing. So, he's been doing a tremendous job. Thoughts on Winker? Great acquisition. Like a guy they hate. He's got good numbers against LA pitchers. Your thoughts? Yeah, our thoughts is that this guy's an absolute gamer. I mean, he went through a 3 for 42 stretch and everybody wanted to run him out of town. But beside Ryan Stanek, I think that Jesse Winker was my favorite acquisition. And the guy had an awesome year for Washington. And, in the first part of the season, I'm really happy that he's on board. Like the guy, his persona, my favorite picture of him is him just looking around and just squinting around in the dugout after the Mets clinched the NLDS with a cigar in his mouth. That was awesome. So I like the guy. He plays with a passion. He's one of those guys that, again, I think my guy Nick from the He Did This To Me podcast said this, is that, if you're playing against him, right, and if you're a fan of another team that's playing against them, you absolutely hate him. And he had a little bit of bad juju with the Mets fans for quite some time with the whole waving incident or whatever. But this guy's a great guy deep down. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Just a great guy. And he's a guy that, again, if you are in the opposition of him, you're going to hate him. But if he's on your team, man, you got to love that energy, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a guy that rubs people the wrong way. And you want that guy on your team, right? He's that one asshole on the team that you want on your team. So it's great to have him. Again, he was the best bench bat at the trade deadline, and the Mets needed that at the time, and he's been really good for us. He went through a tough stretch, but he's just a guy that, he'll get that. He got that big triple against the Brewers in the wild card series, that big home run against Philly. He's just a guy that you just want in a lineup because he has that attitude. And then when he got on base, he said, "Let's go Mets," to the dugout. It's so funny. He's a weird guy, but he's funny as hell. He's a guy that, I love guys that he's not the best player on the field, but he gives his all and he's just a badass. And those players are so much fun to watch when they're on their team.
100%. And I think some people want us to talk about the insurance run that we got that was really manufactured by Pete Alonso himself. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. Pete Alonso, again, right? If you go back to this graphic here, had a couple of tough at-bats. I think he got called out on strike 3 and he was kind of upset about it. I think it was too close to take, but obviously he didn't think so. 1 for 4 with a walk, but that walk loomed large for the New York Mets because, again, I forgot what the guy's name was that they had. He was throwing heat, by the way, 100 miles per hour the last pitcher. Enriquez, yeah. So, he got a walking lead, man. It's not often we get to see the polar bear swipe a bag, but he literally timed him up perfect. He was not paying any mind to Pete Alonso, and he just decides to swipe the bag. And then with the Starling Marte single up the middle, right? Great arm out there with Pages, but what a slide by Pete Alonso at home plate, just getting his hand in there on the side. And you take that angle at home plate. I hate, right, sliding head first at home plate. And I think that the new rules obviously makes it a little bit safer to do, but I never trust it at all. But I would rather someone go feet first and just have their hand extended and just swipe the plate like that. But again, just an overall, just tremendous awareness. And again, people don't see the camera angle, but in baseball, if you have a close play like that, the guys that are on the on deck circle have to position themselves right up on the dirt, the edge of the dirt, and then just be yelling, "Get down, get down, get down," and be talking to the base runner out there. Not that he probably needed that because he probably knew it was going to be a close play. He knows he's slow as hell. But again, a huge damn run, Rob. Huge.
Yeah, that was a big insurance run. It made the ninth inning a little bit more safer. The Grand Slam can't beat you. It can only tie the game. So that was huge at that point. But I was a little annoyed that Marte didn't go home on that sack fly potential.
Me too. Me too. Lucas had a great arm, though.
I was like, you're already up by 3. You're already up by 4 runs. if you get out at home plate, it has to be a perfect throw to get you out. And he wasn't even behind the ball. He was kind of like, fading to the right a little bit when he was catching that ball. When Marte's speed, I would have tried it. If they caught you, whatever, you tried it, it had to be a perfect throw, because that 8th run would have probably been like, all right, cool, we're okay. So, but yeah, I was shocked that he didn't go. I was like, damn it.
And you saw the throw, it was trash. It was trash. It was way offline. So I don't know. I agree with you there. I think you got to take the risk already up by 4 runs at that point. I 100% agree with you.
That's on Marte. That's not on the third base coach at all. That's on Marte not feeling comfortable.
Right. This is the graphic that I was just chuckling at here with Vientos, dude. Look at this. This is gold. And I took that personally. That's awesome. The official Mets account tweeted that out. I just credit to them. I don't know exactly how that all works on here, but again, I took that right from their page. So whoever the admin is doing a mighty job tonight. But again, great day for baseball. I guess, the Yankees are up 1-0-2. I believe we just got an update there with the Juan Soto home run. Anything else that you got today? Huge game coming up. The series just got a whole lot more interesting. Again, as we said yesterday and on the pregame today, if there's any team that loves to bounce back after they get punched in the mouth, it's the New York Mets, and they do it again today. And again, we don't know what the rest of the series holds, but if they get punched in the mouth again, let's hope not. Let's hope we don't have anything resembling a game 1 of this series, but this team is going to bounce back. And as we've said this whole entire season, and even before the season started, we know that these teams and this team in particular is going to go on slumps. And we said that. Don't make it an extended slump. Do not make it an extended slump. And for the better part of the second half of the season, they've been able to mitigate that. And you're talking about a 1-1 series tied in the NLCS for the New York Mets. Take us away, Rob. Final thoughts before we get on out of here. Again, could not be prouder of this team right now.
Yeah, it was a good performance. Again, never count this team out until they have back-to-back bad performances. And then you can worry a little bit and panic a little bit and complain. Every time they've had a bad loss, they came right back and did the job, regardless if it was the offense, the pitching, whatever. We have to give them that opportunity to bounce back after a bad loss. And they did it again. 3 series in a row now, they bounced back after a tough loss, and they did their job. But with Luis Severino, it's about time he has a dominant performance. Now you're pitching at home, right? He didn't pitch on the road twice already. He's finally pitching at home in the postseason. This needs to be a dominant performance by Severino. Like, I don't want nothing less than 6 innings. I want a performance of his freaking career in the postseason. I want him to dominate the Dodgers lineup on Wednesday. I don't want no 5 good innings and then gives up two bombs in the 6th and he can't get out of the 6th inning, right? You're in a big ballpark. Citi Field's going to be a little cooler. It's not going to be easy to hit home runs out of that ballpark when it gets cooler. The wind's going to be swirling. Get the job done. We need a dominant performance by Severino. It's setting up perfectly for him. You got game 1. You're not going down 2-0 into Citi Field in game 3. You got flown back to New York early. So everything's working in your favor. There's no excuses for Severino to have an inning where he's going through in a lineup easy and then he blows up. He's done it twice already in this postseason. I want a performance where he comes out of the game and I'm like, damn good performance, right? Quintana had it already. Minaya had it already. It's time for Severino to have a game where I can go into this post game and say, that was a damn good performance by Luis Severino. He hasn't had it as yet, but I'm hoping for it in game 3.
I don't think he pitched that bad in NLDS. I just hope I just hope that he learns from the mistakes of continuously throwing the same pitch 5 or 6 different times, because we were going insane.
He gets cute.
Yeah, trust your fastball, dude. It's 98. Like, we get that you have a great sweeper, but again, if they're fouling it off, go back to the heater and set up the slider again. Give them various looks, and that's the one thing that the last couple of times out for Severino, he just hasn't been able to grasp. But other than that, I'm confident. Let's get it done. Those are my final thoughts. We appreciate the support. We just got basically an hour of a post-game show. Again, as Thor was saying, a lot better of a post-game show than yesterday because we're not sitting here talking about Kodai Senga and the decision to pitch him or not for 30 minutes. So that's on me, and I apologize. I got a little bit animated. I was feeling very strongly about
shut up about it.
Just trust Mendy and trust this organization, man. That's all I got to say. Listen, I appreciate you all. 1-1 headed back to New York. It feels damn good, but the job's not done. I'm not satisfied, and neither should you be. I know Rob's not. I'm not. Change the damn narrative. Change the narrative. Again, the Mets are going to be underdogs in every single game, minus maybe if they somehow meet up with the Guardians, right? And they sneak past the Yankees. They're going to be underdogs. We're used to this. We love this. We live for this. Change the narrative. Let's go Mets. We'll catch you all on the pregame and postgame. Again, I'll try to make it. I'm on travel. Not the best time for travel, but I got to travel. So I appreciate you all being here. Rob, I appreciate you as well. Let's go Mets. See you all later. And again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, both channels, myself and Rob's. Hit the thumbs up on the stream. It helps us grow a lot. Do not forget to hit the thumbs up and check out both of our channel memberships on the channel. We definitely appreciate it. See you all later. Let's go Mets. Peace.
Speed away, baby.